I now turn this celebration of the earth and all things beautiful over to Kay.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. And I wanted to read a couple things that I wrote before I started talking directly about my artwork. And I also want to say that it's been amazing preparing for this because I learned so much about myself as an artist and what drives what I do. So thank you. I join you today, not as an expert in anything, but as a person on a journey of spirit through my life and my art. I have been blessed in my life with amazing family, with friends, many of whom are in the congregation, with work, and with a seeking spirit. Before we talk about and look at my art, I want to share a passage I wrote in May of 2019. It reflects the source of my art spirit. Daffodils, flowers, seeds replanting themselves. They are the power of Earth Mother. They are gifts to all. Gifts which are given from a spirit which is universal and loving. Listen, listen, listen. Know that you are whole. Know that you are part of a grand, never-ending circle of birth and death. You are not separate. Your protoplasm is the life force which has come before and will come after. There is a continuous line which holds you in all life. Your art spirit is only your listening. It is only a door to universal joy. Dig deep to find yourself and know you cannot ask for knowing, but must wait. Know that loneliness is only solitude looking for fertile ground from which to bloom. Know that every rock, every tree, every seed, every precious life, all being, is Mother Earth offering herself to the celebration of unity and fullness. I know I cannot go constantly to the well of the Spirit, asking without listening, expecting without humility. It is only as I find the absurdity of my own longings that I find the courage to flick them away and allow a new, unknown flood of being to flow in. In the light of this seeking, I have images to share. They speak to the earth spirit which guides the evolution of my work. Ahead of time, I'll apologize for the quality of some of the photos. The camera, the eye, and the nuances of paint applied are not always in sync. And I had not planned this one piece, but this morning I was having breakfast and reading selected writings by Thomas Berry, and a piece jumped out at me, and I just want to share it before we look at artwork. From Thomas Berry. This is our sacred story. It is our way of dealing with the ultimate mystery whence all things come into being. It is much more than an account of matter and its random emergence into the visible world about us, because the emergent process, as indicated by the geneticist Theodosius, and I can't pronounce his last name, is neither random nor determined, but creative. Just as in the human order, creativity is neither a rational, deductive process, nor an irrational wandering of the undisciplined mind, but the emergence of beauty as mysteriously as the blossoming of a field of daisies out of the dark earth. So that touched me greatly this morning. I'm going to use share screen to share some of my work, and I have 3 sets of work. The first is from whoops, I'm in the wrong, there. Okay. The first is from a set that I call Earth Will Guide Us. I was out in the Southwest near Abiquiu 2 or 3 times lately, and I keep going to a place called the White Place. And this gives you a big view of the White Place from a distance. It's a rock formation from volcanic rock that's been compressed and then formed by age weathering. And the photos that I took there kept drawing me, and my experience of walking there, I was drawn into these caverns of beautiful, beautiful rocks and voluminous forms that were just there in nature. And I was just incredibly moved by them. This one in particular, with the light coming through and the sense of unity, and again being drawn into and through Mother Earth. This area of the rocks, I was got narrower and narrower, and I felt myself just being pulled right into that center place there. One of the first paintings which I did was done right there on site. And I was trying to capture that sense of the power of those rocks. So a little watercolor sketch. And you'll see as the paintings come up, they evolve over time as I try to delve further into what those rocks meant to me. This is another sketch I did very close in time to the being there. I think it was that evening or the next day. But one of the things that struck me was the female forms in the rocks and the sense of their pregnancy and their offering of love and light through the rocks. It just was amazing to me. So I have to allow, in my process of painting, I have to allow these images and my initial reactions to them to percolate and evolve a bit. So the photos and the early work I did on this kind of lay fallow until, I think it was probably last year. I thought, okay, I'm going back to those. I'm going to look at those photos and be back in the presence of what I experienced in the spirit, more of the spirit than of the actuality. But I went back to the rocks and looked at them, and actually in this particular photograph, I played in Photoshop with taking out the intense blue of the sky and making it a much more unified color scheme. And I began to think about what it meant to me. And again, it was that feeling of being drawn between these forms into something where there was light and hope and feeling. So I have coming up 3 images of the same painting that also evolved over time. The first is this one where these rock forms for me were there to draw me in. And yet when I went back to it over time, I wanted the light in the sky to be brighter. And it occurred to me that these two were just kind of equal spacing. And I wanted this one here to drop back a little bit, to make room to be drawn in between the rocks. So I went back to work and worked on it a bit. And this is the next ideation of it, which gave me the sense, the iridescence of this blue here drew me in, and I felt the formation of the female form coming up out of that blue here, and was like, yeah, that there is a goddess drawing us into Mother Earth and the love which she has for us. And yet as I looked at it, I stepped back and looked at it, it was heavy. The two forms here were really heavy. And I kept waiting to understand what was happening in it. So where the painting stands now is pretty much as you saw it before, but I realized that there was a lightness that could flicker in here and I applied some gold leaf to it as in a form of fireflies coming out of the rocky area, giving that light and love and life to the form. And that's the way it stands for now. I wish you could see it in the studio in real life. It's hard to photograph gold flakes, but it's part of that journey, and it'll hang on the wall until I look at it and say, oh, there's something else it needs. But so that's one journey of love will guide us. I have a second one that takes us in a totally different direction. Come on, okay. There's a beach on Swan Island. It's called Fine Sand Beach. And it really has fine sand. And as this photo shows, the water leaves behind these incredible forms in the sand as the water goes out. And I was just so drawn by the forms that Mother Earth just leaves behind. As you know, there's just a joy. I'd gone down to the beach to look at the great vistas, and I found so much joy in just looking at these. And so back in the studio, I began to experiment with how could I develop these ideas and into paintings that made sense to me. And I started with just a little tan piece of drawing board, and I think these were pastels, and just playing with the shapes, going back to these and looking at them and coming back and saying, oh yeah, those are lovely. How am I going to design it? And what am I gonna do to give that sense of sand on the panel? So I pulled out a small, it's probably 4x6 panel, and I started playing with it, and I was able to, one, put down some dark background, and then there's a medium which I use, which is called cold wax medium, and I could roll that onto the panel and then sprinkle actual sand on it to get some texture. And I have some dry pigments that I mixed together and could sprinkle onto it, and began to get a sense of sand and the flow through it. The painting which evolved is this one. That's probably about 24 by 32. And it was just so much fun allowing the sand itself to evolve and then allowing the flow. The flow is different than it was in the photographs, but that's true of the art spirit. That's how I evolve as an artist, being honest to the places that the spirit that has given me joy. So this painting is called Moving, and that's kind of where it came from. And I will go to another one. I got interested in earth, air, fire, and water in my paintings, and I thought, wind. How can I convey the feeling of wind without it being a tree, without being a bird or whatever? And I realized I needed to start by looking at birds. And so this is one of my drawings I did. I had some photographs and looked at photographs and so on, and began to look at the shapes and so on of birds. That evolved into this drawing here, which you can see some of the bird form, but I was trying to get that flow, the feeling of the flow of wind without it being dominant as a bird. And you've seen the final painting of that, which is on your banner. And just a lot of scratching into the paint, of letting things flow through, and feeling the boldness of the medium. This painting is, I think it's 24 by 32. So it was a very physical thing to be painting this and feeling the spirit of the wind, lifting the bird, lifting life, and so on. And then I got to thinking, well, I've got another big panel like that. Maybe I can do another wind painting. And so I began to do the same thing. I looked at how would something that evolved from bird form interact with this painting. And I started drawing, and this is one of the drawings I did, but it was pretty much where I was thinking I was going, and that the direction of the bird here, of the wind, is there, and I wanted this one to flow upwards. And if you pay attention to this form and that form, you'll see it in the next slide. And the thing that I wanted to comment on is when I kept coming to, there are no wrong paths in painting. There's only opportunities to look further and see more and be present in the gifts of painting. And where we start is not always end. So remember that form and that form. And here it is, there and there. And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, not so much. That there was, earlier on, there was some of the bird body there. I was like, well then, this is not working. And I turned it over. That's the kind of thing that I try to do, is to look at it again and see it and I'm not yet even sure. It's still on my easel. I'm not sure I'm through working with it. The sense of wind for me is coming through, and the sense of the unity of our environment and ourselves in it. That circular unity is what this painting draws for me. So stay tuned, it may change. And that's the lovely thing about painting, is you can develop it. You can leave it and have the courage to go back and turn it upside down, or let the spirit speak to you in a new way. Get away from your thinking and let your eyes and your spirit read it. So I just want to go to the last one, the conclusion. And a year ago in summer, I was at a workshop on paint, art and the spirit. And we were asked to write something down at the beginning of the day that guided us. And what I wrote down was, love will guide me, love inside me. Love will hold me, love will bold me. So over the year, I worked on those, let those be in my spirit as I worked. And as you've seen, Earth Will Guide Me was my response to that initial part of the quatrain. This painting, Gestation, Seeds of Winter, I really had the feeling of love inside me, that opportunity, that beautiful color that comes out in the winter, and the opportunity of the seeds that are gestating there. This one, Earth Will Hold Me, and I suspect any of us who've been down at Acadia, at Schoodic, at Millbridge, McClellan Park, we've all seen that lovely forms of the rocks, the color of the rocks, and those amazing plant life that the rocks hold and show so much hope. And this is a painting I did just trying to reflect on that. And even last week I looked at it and I changed this area here to bring that part of the painting and this part of the painting more together into a unity, and develop these plant forms a little bit more. So that's the Earth Will Guide Me. Now, when I had a show up at the Wilson Center that was hung March 6th, and not many people saw it because of the COVID, but that was the last painting of the quatrain I had done at that point. And I said at the time, love will bold me, it will come, I don't know what it is. And this spring, this amazing painting just kind of grew. I found that I had some lace that my great-great-grandmother had as neck pieces and arm pieces on her dresses. And it was in a box that somebody in the family had given to me and said, you might want this. And I looked at the lace and I said, well, there's nobody's going to put lace neck pieces on. What can I do with it? And I ended up placing the pieces of lace on a large panel and putting molding paste over it, spreading it over it, and then lifting the lace off. And what was left behind were these beautiful, beautiful textures. And then the thing that drew me, and which was a focus of my work, was that integration of the love and joy from my ancestor, the necklace that came to me, that love that comes down through our ancestors, and the love and joy of Mother Earth. And this painting took me weeks to evolve because I had to listen to it. But it is right now my sense of love will bold me. The boldness of Mother Earth, the boldness of those who have come before is just the central part for me of this painting. And I love the reflections of earth forms here and other places in it that come from the lace. We are unified, we are one. And so that was a very exciting painting. The last painting that I want to show is my response to COVID. And I really didn't have a direction when I started this painting. The combination of COVID, Black Lives Matter, everything that's happening just shut me down as an artist. And I came out to the studio at one point and just started painting. And as I painted, I came back one day and there was this form that was emerging over the abyss. And I realized that was the statement that we shall fly again. And it was very hopeful. How we fly, what it means. We need to be open, be courageous, be there as a community. But that sense that out of this chaos that was coming from my paintbrush, this bird began to emerge and to fly over that. And so that, for me, is the hopeful piece. We shall fly again, and we'll do that all together as community and with hope and courage. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my work. More of my work can be seen on my website, kaycarterpaints.com. And if you want to come down to the gallery and see some of the work, I'd be happy to have you stop by, call ahead, and feel free to come. I love to talk about the spirit of the artwork. The phone number, if you want to drop by, is 944-7814. Thank you.